everyone, Larissa here with Excel Spark, and today what we're going to do is go over a newer function in Excel. This is the unique function. This is only going to be available to users who are using Microsoft Excel 2021 or Microsoft Office 365. If you have an earlier version, unfortunately, this and the other dynamic array functions as part of this new rollout are unavailable to you. But for those of you who are able to use it, this is a really, really handy function, and I'm going to show you. This is especially good, I think, for those of us who are working with a lot of general ledger data. So here's my example. I have a lot more data between H and S. I just have it hidden, but this is a spit out of general ledger data on a specific award. So on this award, we have various projects. We're paying students, we're paying faculty, we are charging travel, and each particular line of expenditure is its own row in Excel. So when I go over here to A, when I highlight column A and look down here in the bottom right of my summary bar, I can see that I have over 1,000 lines of data. And over here, when I highlight my employee names, you can see that I have 670 values. That is bringing in the employee name, but still, this is quite a lot of data. It's over 650 different instances of various people's names. But because it's general ledger data, now you can see I've got some repeats. So I've got Homer Simpson. If I highlight that, you can tell I've got 13 instances of transactions for Homer just on this particular sheet. So if you run into a situation where maybe you are getting a report that has repeating values, but you only want to see the one specific unique instance of each of those values. So I know there aren't 669 employees paid on this, but I don't know how many there are. Then this is where the unique function can come in handy. And I'm just going to get started and type it right in here in cell T1. And I want to show you how it works because I think this might spark some ideas for how you can use it in your own role. So in cell T1, we're going to type equals, and I'm just going to start by typing unique. And once it has identified that as an active as an active function, you can see it's highlighted in blue. And I have this nice little tooltip. If you're ever wondering what the function does, or maybe you're just playing around with different functions, these little tooltips and text bars are really handy. In this case, this is telling us that it returns the unique values from a range or array. And in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to get the unique values from the employee name. So all of our individuals paid from this project or who have travel reimbursements. In order to begin using this function, now I've got my function name unique, then next I need to type my open parentheses, and that gives us access to the argument. So this is what Excel needs in order to gather this data to run the function. This one's quite nice because it only has one required function. You can see here in bold, it has array. So array is just another word in Excel. Generally, it will be a list, so it could be anything from cells in a single column, or it could be something arranged such as cells A1 through H670. So that's what Excel means by an array. In this case, because we only want the unique values from the employee name column, we're just going to use the single column array. Now, before I type that in, I do want to point out these two other arguments. We've got by column and exactly once. These are in square brackets, and when you see that, that is Excel's way of telling you that that is optional. And a lot of times the default, so if we don't enter this, Excel will have a default result. A lot of times that is going to be what most of the instances of that formula or function are going to be doing. So that's a really long way of saying a lot of times this can be ignored because most people are just using those default values and we don't need to worry about it. So we are only going to be using the array. Now that I have that highlighted in bold, I can either type in H:H or I can just select the whole column H. When you hover over it, it turns green and you get that little down arrow. Just select that and then you can see it turns into blue. We also have the marching ants. If I scroll down, you can see it keeps going for quite a while and it corresponds to the blue color here, H through H. Now, in order to ignore these two optional arguments, I am just going to type the close parentheses. So really, this is all I need for this function to work is unique. And where are we pulling it? Column H. Great. We've got that information. I'm going to hit enter and let Excel do its thing. And that's all it takes. Basically, now that I am back at the top, you can see this blue border here is showing these are all of your individuals paid from this. They've removed these multiple instances. So you can see we've got our various people, and then where Homer Simpson, over here he has 13 different entries. There's only one here. So you can see at a glance, if I highlight all of these guys, I've got 30 employees paid from or reimbursed from this project. It did pull in the employee name, so this is part of the unique because obviously Excel doesn't know that I'm just looking for names. It's pulling in anything it identifies as a unique value of which employee name does count. And then it's also pulling in a 0. So all of these blanks here and then anything below my data set will read as a 0. Otherwise, this is pretty useful information. So I can just tell just by looking at who is paid from this project. So another thing that I want to point out before moving on is that you can see when I am in cell T2 here, you can see that this formula, let me get back there, that this formula in my formula bar is gray. When I go to T1, now it's black. So this is what Excel is doing as part of these dynamic array functions is it's pulling in essentially just the results. There is no value here. I can't change Helen Lovejoy. I can't do anything specific to anything in this cell. This cell actually doesn't exist. It is just giving me the results from this formula and giving me one new cell for each instance of that result. If that doesn't make sense to you, this might help. I am going to undo this and I'm going to type in a value. So let's just pretend for a second that we are pulling this into a dashboard. And in my dashboard, I already have the, some general ledger data, and I've maybe got a little chart down here. And then up here is where I want to get those unique values. But because I don't know how many there are, I'm just going to say I'll put that in cell T1 and we'll just see what happens. So when I type in that formula again, H through H, now I'm getting an error. And that's because you can see with all of the data that I have, it has nowhere to put that data because something is already existing in cell T7. So it gives you that spill error. If you ever see that, you can pretty quickly tell what the culprit is. Once I delete this, then my dynamic array will work again. So let me delete that. And now here are the values from that unique formula. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this. It's very dynamic. You can enter different people's names in. So if I put in Milhouse Van Houten, and we've already got Luann, but let's pop Milhouse in here and enter that. Now you can see this updates with the results in my original data set. So before, where we had 30 Now we've got 31. So this is a really good way of staying on top of changing data. And I really think it's useful. This is going to be probably more useful in conjunction with other functions and formulas such as sort, or you can do sum ifs based on the information from this unique function, but it's a really great place to start. And if this is something you find yourself beating your head against the wall with, trying to get this information, and you have access to Microsoft 2021 or 365, then absolutely give this one a try. It is really easy to use, and I think it's pretty slick. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I invite you to come to the Spark side. You can find me at reese@excel-spark.com. I also have a website, excel-spark.com, where you can find more content and also information about me, including why I have possums everywhere. Feel free to also connect with me on linkedin.com. And also, I have a YouTube channel where I will release additional content about how to use Excel to help us in our jobs as research administrators. Because my slogan is research administration is hard, but learning Excel to help you do your job shouldn't have to be. Thank you.